Alright, man, we back on sports. Oh my, I say this simply for the fact that this week was supposed to be my week off. I wasn't going to do any videos this week because I have a lot of important things to do in the real world, you know what I mean? That especially I got, this construction going on across the street? It's shaking the fucking house. I got so much stuff I have to do this week that I didn't think I was going to have time to do any videos. But the Eagles go and pull this shit on what they did last week. So now I have to address it due to the fact that so many people want to hear what I have to say on it. I am so sick and tired. Eagles, what the hell? I'm not even cool about this right now. And I say this due to the fact that you have to understand, the Eagles are not even giving us a chance to celebrate what they did earlier, in the week last week. And I say this because for those who don't know, listen, we want to address the elephant in the room right now. Okay? Because they released Kerry Williams, and you don't even give us a full day to even celebrate that, do you? No, you couldn't have waited till later in the week or, the next day to start announcing all the other stuff. No. Because after Kerry Williams, all of us was like, hey, bye, see ya, gone. And I said on Twitter, I said, Bradley Fletcher, you next. And people was like, well, he's a free agent. And as we all know, free agents, they test the market. So you don't know if they're going to come back or not. That's why I said that. So I said, Bradley Fletcher, you next. All right? But since everyone wants to write him off already, I'm fine with that. I'm more than okay with that. Trust me. I'm great with that, okay? However, when you release Kerry Williams and everybody is celebrating, don't piss on their parade, Eagles, and that's what you did, all right? Because after that, then you traded, you didn't trade, you released Trent Cole. And it made no sense. Just last week I made a case for Trent Cole and why he should stay, okay? And give him his money. But Chip Kelly, once again, and you know what? Maybe it's not just Chip Kelly. Because I see a lot of anger directed towards Chip Kelly. Yeah, he has the final, well, you might as well say it's the final say due to the fact that the power that he has. But you also have to look at Jeffrey Lurie as well, okay? Now, I say this due to the fact that Jeffrey Lurie, he knows what what he's going to stand for. He knows, he's seen for years what he's done with Andy Reid, okay? We've also seen, him stick by his coaching decisions. Thus, what he's doing here with Chip Kelly. However, I don't agree with what Chip Kelly's doing. However, you get rid of Trent Cole. And all of us is like, I don't know about that. And then you have fans, enablers, who came out and said, it's okay. And same thing with the media. It's okay. We can find someone else better than Trent Cole. We can get someone else. But, the way, some of us know football, it's just like, this isn't looking too good, all right? And when Trent Cole found out that he was being released, because they weren't going to make a deal, because the last time we heard, they were close to making a deal. They were close to it. And then all of a sudden, he was like, nope, that's it, you're done. And then Trent Cole took to Twitter and said this. Trent Cole feels the lack of respect in the Eagles organization is what sent him out. And you know what? Yeah, this is a business move, but I'll put it like this. For everything that Trent Cole brings to the game, easily, he should have been given a contract. He should have been. There's no way that this should have just went away. We're just going to release you and that's it. This is clearly a changing of the guard that Chip Kelly is still trying to get rid of Andy Reid's guys. That's what it is, okay? Let's be honest here. But when you think it couldn't get worse, then it gets worse. What did you do? You trade McCoy, which makes no fucking sense. Let's be honest here. And before anyone, I'm going to break this down really nice today so that all the excuses that we've heard over the weekend from enabling ass Eagles fans who are up Chip Kelly's ass, guess what? That shit is going to be knocked down today, okay? So first, we will start with McCoy when it comes to not getting his money. You've got to be kidding me. This guy has done everything that he is supposed to have done to get his money. And we will talk about that in a minute because you have Eagles fans who we saw on Twitter. First off, Diva Antics got to go out. They got to go out. Like I said, you have every right to be upset. Everyone has every right to be upset with this move. But when you start having Diva Antics, it is time for you to go. That is not what Philadelphia is about. And I say this due to the fact that if you look on Twitter, you had Eagles fans, okay? Eagles fans who were, McCoy is great. He's a savior. He's the one who gets the running game. He sparks us. This guy deserves a contract. As soon as he's traded, you had Eagles fans turn their backs right on him and start trashing the guy. You've got to be kidding me. I could understand, okay, if McCoy went to Dallas or like Deshaun and went to the Redskins to be a rival, then I can understand that. But this guy got traded to Buffalo where he didn't even want to go. He wanted to stay in Philadelphia, okay? That's what he wanted to do. He said he was going to make the trade even harder. All right, because he wants to be here. He hasn't played outside of the state of Pennsylvania, okay? He wants to be here. And now he feels that this whole why me type thing, why would you get rid of me? That makes no sense. That's how he feels, okay? So when you have Eagles fans saying, I never liked him anyway, or he wasn't producing enough when it came to his numbers to get this type of money, really? Okay, let's get to the numbers then.
To the Eagles. The trade, of course, can't be consummated until Tuesday. when the league year begins. Argentina Anderson spoke to a source close to McCoy who said this, quote, "In your mind when you think of Buffalo, you think of cold and losing games. It's not like the Philadelphia market where you're always on TV and you're playing for the division title. It was unexpected, I'll tell you that much. Honestly, he's frustrated. It's all right, it's the league. I told him that. I guess he just never experienced that, but he was like, why me?" Now, the source added that he thinks McCoy is, quote, "not going to make it easy, that's for sure." So let's go by the numbers on LeSean McCoy and his great run with the Eagles. Our first number is 1. Over the last 5 seasons, Shady has 1,566 rushes and receptions. That's tied for Matt Forte for the most in the NFL, which tells the tale of McCoy's heavy workload in Philadelphia. Our second number 2, McCoy has a cap hit of $11.95 million in 2015. That is the second highest cap hit for a running back this upcoming season behind Adrian Peterson. And our final number 4, LeSean McCoy has rushed for 1,000 yards in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Meanwhile, the Bills have only had one 1,000-yard rusher in the last 5 seasons.
So let me get this straight, enablers, right? Because I want to make sure this is right, okay? For years, fans have always said that they hate players who hold out on their contracts, all right? Have we not seen this? We've seen players say, I want more money, you know, in their final year. You know, I feel as I've already, you know, produced enough, so I deserve more money. You know, I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to come to practices until this deal is done, or I'm going to play through, as we've seen with Deshaun Jackson when he did the Eagles. He played horribly that year in his kind, you know, when he wanted more money. Did we not see that? Okay, so now you have a player like McCoy who's not even saying anything about money. He's letting his talent speak for himself to get his money. He didn't hold out. He didn't do anything but go out there and perform. And as soon as it's time to give him his money, he gets traded? Is that what you really want to go with? Because, you know, for us to be hardcore football fans and, you know, and to pride ourselves off of, you know, we support hard workers, for you to sit here and say that McCoy, oh, well, his numbers, it don't add up. Look how much money he was going to get. He fucking earned it. Don't sit here and tell me he didn't. So you're going to sit here and now you're going to try to play that route. Is that what you really want to go? Well, it's the cap space, and you know what? We're going to get in there as well, okay? But when you sit here and say, well, McCoy, you know, it's okay because we got, you know, we need the money and that we can get more stuff for him, you know, more players for him and things of that nature, that is absolutely horrendous. Do you understand what that means? That means we would have to test free agency. What you're seeing now, are you not? And what's going on? What are people saying? All these free agent buys that we're having, we're throwing a lot of money at them. You know what it's starting to look like? Dream Team Part 2. That's what it's starting to look like. But it seems like people don't understand that. But you know, a lot of people also want to talk about this system and how McCoy didn't fit the system. And you have to understand that it's not just the system. And also you have to look at the value of the trade as well. You know what? Why don't you listen to Clinton Portis on this part?
Both of these guys were well accomplished when the trade took place.
Clinton Portis, good morning. Welcome to NFL AM. What'd you think yesterday when you heard this one?
Good morning, guys. I was just as shocked as everyone else. I mean, you look at trading a weapon such as LeSean McCoy for anybody, unless you're trading for J.J. Watt or Ndamukong Suh, that's not a trade worth having, if you ask me. I mean, you look at LeSean McCoy, he was 300 yards away from his best season last year. And if you, with the exception of 4 games last year that he averaged under 3 yards per carry, you take those games out and just put him at an average of 75 yards a game, and he's right back to where he was last year when everyone was raving about his numbers. So this is a trade I really don't understand.
When you look at a trade like this and you see the production of it, and then you hear the discussions and the narrative being that the coach believes in his system more than he believes in the players, and his actions obviously represent that. How do you look at that? Do you feel like a coach's system can outweigh having players that make plays on the field?
Well, when you have one of the best players, one of the most explosive players in the NFL, I don't really think you take them out of the system. And if you look at coaches with great systems, I don't think they really, you know, you look at Belichick, I don't think he feels as if his system makes Tom Brady. I think it's a collective effort amongst both of those guys. Without one, I without one, the system don't work. So when you look at this trade and you look at the Eagles letting go Deshaun Jackson last year, it just comes to the realization there's more going on in Philadelphia than we know about. Maybe it's the ego thing with Coach Chip Kelly, which I think the players enjoy playing for him. You see a lot of players succeed, and of course last year with being his first year, there was a lot of excitement coming out of Philadelphia, but the last two moves that they made been questionable.
Porter said the moves are very questionable, and you have every right to question them as a fan. You do, okay? But you have these people who are just like, we're just going to go with it. I'll put it like this. If you see these moves that are happening, okay? If Andy Reid did something like this, which we know Reid wouldn't, because he loved those players, okay? He defended those players to the end, where Chip Kelly is like, hey, you're expendable. That's what he's doing, okay? But if you notice, if Andy Reid if he did try something like this, fans would have wanted his head on a platter. But as soon as it's Chip Kelly, because he took us to the one-round playoff, now let's, believe in the system, trust in Chip. I'm sorry, but I don't know. No way. There is no way you can sit here and tell me that I should just be like, okay, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. No, there's no way you're going to, no. That's absolutely ridiculous. And if you are like that, then there's something wrong with you. You don't believe in a coach that much. I'm sorry, without being proven, and he hasn't proven anything yet. He hasn't. And you should know how that goes. We will talk more about the system in a minute, okay? About Chip Kelly's system and how players are like parts interchangeable as though he feels they are because he's such an offensive genius. We'll talk about that in a minute, okay? However, I do want to talk about these things real quick, all right? Eagles say that there's all these moves that are being made is strictly business, all right? Which we know fans don't want to hear that because every company says that it's business, it's not personal. And as you know, as these players got to move around, and yes, they chose to be players, all right? But you should know when something happens, if somebody gets fired, if you get fired at your job or something happens, you get demoted or something, guess what? You're going to take that personal, aren't you? Okay then. So business is personal. I'm tired of hearing this. It's just business. It's not personal thing. People need to stop that shit, okay? Now, I'll put it like this. McCoy's relationship with Kelly had become strained since LaDainian Tomlinson. Before this move, a week before that, they're saying, LT is saying that he talked to McCoy and that he felt as though he wasn't going to come back because of his relationship with Chip Kelly. Apparently, there was some communication problems and they never talked about it. So for this guy to be, so-called a player's coach, and you're hearing all these things between him and Deshaun, but the communication wasn't there. Between him and McCoy, the communication wasn't there. We see that Jeremy Maclin now is gone, and don't you sit here and tell me that Jeremy Maclin leaving had nothing to do with McCoy or Trent Cole or any of those guys. Clearly, he is seeing what's going on and saying, no, I don't want no part of this. That's what he's doing. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's what happens when you start getting rid of players. You start losing locker rooms. All right? And I know a lot of people say, well, he hasn't lost a locker room. The players love him, blah, blah. These players would not be jumping. Maclin would not just leave like that if it wasn't for what he saw with McCoy. Not to mention where he's from as well and where he played. You have to understand there's a combination of the two. But there's more. McCoy is unhappy with the Eagles trade. As we know, the Eagles have signed Frank Gore, as we know. And I'll talk. You'll probably hear a little bit more about that later, okay? But you go and give Gore this money, which is pretty much between Gore and the Byron Maxwell signing, you pretty much just gave Shady's money away. That's pretty much what you did, all right? You wanted to beef up defense. People are looking for Revis because of what's going on because we didn't get McCourty. You have, there's just so many moves. Now there's talking about Kaepernick, being on the trade block, but you have to understand they just signed Sanchez. They still have Foles. We don't know what's going to happen with Nick Foles. We will talk about that later as well, okay? I just want to get these things out the way first before we go any further because I do want to talk about the cap. And that's why I'm getting all this stuff out of the way. Because a lot of people are saying, well, the cap, and you got to look at all the money we have so we can spend. And Brian Westbrook, and y'all know how I feel about Brian Westbrook over the years after the things that he's gone against with the Eagles when it came to picking, certain teams, rivals, Dallas and the Redskins, saying they're going to beat us and carrying on. And then we absolutely destroy him afterwards after he picks them, okay? So you already know how I feel about Brian Westbrook. But this is what he had to say to you fans who keeps preaching about cap space. Now, as fans, we cannot tell the Eagles how to spend their money or how much to give a certain player, because as we're seeing that now, certain players are getting a lot of amount of money. We can't tell them how to do that. That's none of our business on how to give money to players. However, when players have proven that they deserve that money, you have every right to speak up. But for fans who are going to sit here and preach cap space to try and defend Chip Kelly or justify these moves, there's something wrong with you. You know that and I know know that. Don't sit here and try to say that, you're going to overlook performance so that you can talk about cap space for the future when you're looking at free agents and testing the draft. You've got to be kidding me. And for those who don't know history, free agents, signing a bunch of free agents have never won a Super Bowl. Bringing a bunch of people out in the draft and think that there's going to be a bunch of burners and go out there and do things have never won the Super Bowl like that. That's why when you see here, these spots here and there of these, rookie players playing really well, it's always a surprise, and then they hype it up because you don't expect rookies to be that good. If you think you're just going to go into your draft, get a bunch of rookies, and everyone is going to play at a top tier level, and the next year, there's something wrong with you. As far as I'm concerned, when after the Eagles season had ended, what did I say? We're still at 10-5 last year. We broke even of the year before record. And I said, that's a step back. You have to go forward. As far as I'm concerned, you have got rid of 3 Pro Bowlers in 2 years. 3 Pro Bowlers. You've taken away pretty much all your offense. Now, I understand that you have to build a running game, so now you have to get Gore because Gore is going to run the gas. He's not going to dance a little bit in the hole and try to make people miss. He's just going to run straight. That's what he's going to do. Okay? But you're pretty much going to say Gore's going to limit. You're probably going to limit Gore to what? 10 carries a game? Because you're probably going to have Sproles and Pope do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to running. And you know what? That's not good enough. That's not. When you had someone like McCoy, that's not good enough. That is absolutely ridiculous. But you have to be kidding me that this is what you're planning on going with, Chip Kelly. This is not the way to win football games. As far as, in my opinion, it's not the way to win football games. But let's talk about this system. Because that's what people love to talk about, right? The system. Live or die by the system of Chip Kelly.
His plan is he's going to live and die by his system. That's what it is. He feels that system worked at Oregon. He always wanted to try it in the National Football League. Well, now the great lab experiment begins now, because now he doesn't have any excuses. He can't say, well, I tried to win with Andy Reid's players, although he did win with Andy Reid's players. Yes. So now he wants to bring in his own guys. He feels if I'm going to win, if I'm going to do this, I'm either going to do it my way or I'm not going to do it at all. He's not going to do it at all. There's a reason why they gave him control of the operation. The Eagles ownership said, all right, you don't think you and Howie Roseman can work together? Okay, we're going to demote him a general manager. You bring in your own general manager. But, brother, you better make this work. Mm-hmm. Because if you could have heard sports talk radio in Philadelphia last night, there was a 72-year-old woman that called me last night, Helene from Philadelphia. She said, Freddie, this team hasn't won a championship since 1960. I'm too old to wait. The Eagles are now in no-wait mode anymore. Okay, look, you want to bring your own players? Here's your timetable. But you better make this work. He's going to run his system because he feels he can plug and play anybody in. That's his plan. That's been his plan all along. He finally got an opportunity and a window where now he can really try to see if it's going to work after being with the Philadelphia Eagles the first 2 years.
There are so many college comparisons here because it's like
Absolutely.
you had the old coaches, players, and recruits, and he needed to recruit his own. What's the timetable you give a coach to have his own program and instill the kind of guys he wants? And I'm looking to the draft, too, to see what kind of guys he brings in. Obviously, not just everybody's looking to the draft, but specifically how many Oregon players he brings in.
He's got 9.
He's got a roster full. Because also, he's already said, he hasn't said much about his plan, but he already says, like, he drafts Oregon guys or guys who have run that system because he wants to eliminate the variables.
Absolutely.
So he doesn't see NFL experience as all a guy needs. He looks at college experience, and if they run his system,
that's going to be his problem. To your point,
I agree.
He wants everyone to do what he says, and he wants to believe that he's going to come in. And remember, early on when he was getting the job, there were whispers of him revolutionizing the offense. And so he wants to be seen as the genius.
Right, but how many times we heard revolutionize the NFL offense? And the revolution lasts for like a couple of years and everybody adjusts. Seriously. Everybody thought the 46 defense was going to change the game forever. Everybody adjusted the Chicago Bears.
You got to have the players.
You got to have the players to make this work. So he believes that he can bring those players in to make it work. And Kate, you're exactly right from the standpoint of it's a college system. You can plug and play. He feels he can make it work. But you know what? You can be the greatest coach in the world. If you don't have studs, you're just a guy that tried to revolutionize the NFL, and like a lot of other people, it didn't work.
Can I ask you?
And that's interesting because believe in the system, believe in the system. You know what you're starting to sound like? You're starting to sound like Sixers fans, Eagles fans, and we know how that's going right now, aren't we? I will put it like this. When you see Chip Kelly do something like this, and then they say, hey, he's trying to revolutionize, as everyone's saying, he's the offensive genius, and what do they say? Every time something like this comes along, they come, all it takes is a little bit of time, and everyone adjusts. Hello, Wildcat. Yeah, where you at now? That's exactly what's going on here. But it's interesting that they would bring up Oregon because you know what? Let's look at the Oregon players that we have right now. And this is exactly why people are calling the Philadelphia Eagles the Philadelphia Ducks, because he's using Oregon as a feeder system at this point. Don't sit here and tell me that that's okay. You have to go outside of your means sometimes to go get players. You need vet experience. And I understand people will say, well, that's what he went to go get with Frank Gore. And we don't know what's going to happen with Colin Kaepernick yet, because I put it like this. If we do get Colin Kaepernick, you can kiss Nick Foles goodbye since they just signed Mark Sanchez. You can kiss that goodbye as far as I'm concerned, all right? But it's absolutely ridiculous that anybody, and I mean anybody, would sit here and say, this system is going to work simply because he's looking at college players from Oregon. And you know what? We're getting real tired, because I've seen this on many videos and many tweets and many people on Facebook and talking to people in the street, and I will talk about that in a minute, okay? But I will say this, when people are sitting here saying, we should get Marcus Mariota, you know what? You need to give it a rest. But let's hear why you will not see Marcus Mariota. It were a very, very slim to none chance that you'll get him in an Eagles uniform.
Gotta sign Macklin. That's what I'm hoping. I hope he brings him back. He's got to do something about that secondary. Because all last season watching them, they were giving up big plays. They need somebody with some speed there that can be multi-purpose. So when they blitz, that guy can also get back. So, they put the franchise tag on McCourty, but I was thinking they would sign him, some guy like that. Spend some money there. Obviously, you need a running game now. So you got to spend some money at running back. That's what I'm hoping is part of the plan. I'm hoping the plan is not to get Mariota. I'm not on board with that. I want Nick Foles as QB for at least one more year, see what you have there, and fill in some of the gaps that I just mentioned. But at this point in time, it's almost like asking for a review of a play at intermission. You're kind of like, it's good so far. I'm having fun. I want to see what the ending is.
Exactly. You still have to give Nick Foles a chance, especially if you're not. I really don't think they're going to get Colin Kaepernick, okay? But you got to give him another chance to see what he can do for at least one more year before you write him off or trade him or whatever the hell you're going to do with him, Chip Kelly, all right? Because a lot of people keep saying, I've seen a number of videos, well, I guess all our eggs are in the basket with Mariota. Got to get Mariota or that's the season. Well, if you really believe that the Eagles can move up, then get Mariota. Because for those who don't know what the spots they're at, you know what? Adam Schefter has some bad news for you.
I've said this before, I'll say it again, I may be proven wrong. Think about what it took the Washington Redskins to go from 6 to 2 to get RG3. 3 ones and a 2. Philadelphia is sitting at number 20. Unless Marcus Mariota goes on an unexpected slide, they will not have the ability to go up and get him. Okay? Now, somehow, if you think that Mariota is going to fall down to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range, they're not getting him. The cost is going to be way too steep to go do that.
And Adam Schefter is absolutely right. If you have not seen what's been going on here, the cost would be too steep. Do you know what that means? You would have to give up a lot of your future to get Mariota. And we saw, for those who are not paying attention to the rest of Philadelphia sports, all right, if Jeffrey Lurie okayed that move, and it didn't work out, do you know what he would turn into? Ruben Amaro Jr. from the Phillies. That's what he'd turn into. It would be that, we gave away all this future, and now it's not working, and we have nothing left. So now we have to rebuild again. And we're seeing that right now with who? The Phillies. We're also seeing it slightly with the Flyers, are we not? And now you're seeing it with the Sixers. And I say this because every Philadelphia sports team, this is why Philadelphia's mad. It's not just Eagles fans, all right? Because Philadelphia has taken gut punch after gut punch for quite a number of years now when it comes to all of their teams. It's not just one team, all right? So when Philadelphians are angry, it's because of all their teams performing poorly in the front office of giving players away. It's not just the Eagles. But it seems like Eagles fans, they got tunnel vision on. They don't understand that. This is bigger than just the Philadelphia Eagles, all right? Especially when you are seeing people in the street walking around in Philadelphia Eagles gear, and other guys are walking by them saying, fuck Chip Kelly, and you have dudes doing this. Because they agree. No one likes to move here in the real world, not the internet sphere, the blogosphere, or whatever sphere, not the Twitterverse or whatever. No, in real world, you are seeing people walking around vocally having their opinion towards other fans, and other fans is like, I agree. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts because of the fact that this is what they're doing. It's like the front office, I said on Twitter. It's like puff, puff, pass. Every front office that we've seen, from the Union to the Phillies to the Sixers to the Eagles and the Flyers. front office is just messing up. At least the Flyers are somewhat trying to do something, but Craig Berube is just, oh my God, don't even get me fucking started on that. But the fact is, if you look at the front offices, they're all making the same wrong moves. All of them. And then they say, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's just going to take a couple of years to get back. Yeah, when they get caught, when they can't do anything, it's going to take a couple of years to readjust. Well, that's what they do. That's what they say. And remember, just last year, Chip Kelly had said, we're not rebuilding. No. We're just reloading and we're going to do something. Getting rid of all this firepower is not reloading and not having anything to show for it. Like I said, I'm not trying to hear you're going to, get receivers in the draft or try to really go out free agency. I'm not trying to hear that, man. Who do we have to throw to right now? Riley Cooper, yeah. Huff, yeah. Really, and Matthews. Those are your guys. There's no way you can go to a Super Bowl, because that's what we're talking. Like they said that this is a no-wait time. There's no waiting for this. It's Super Bowl or bust. And you know what? For years we've been saying this as fans. It's Super Bowl or bust, have we not? So we're used to this mode already. You gonna tell me we're gonna go to the Super Bowl with those three receivers? No. No, I'm not even trying to hear that. And I'm not trying to hear this plug-and-play system. Like, when you're seeing the system that is put in place, and you're seeing these trades, it's almost like Chip Kelly sat down, played Madden, and was like, let me see if this will work. Okay, it worked on Madden, so clearly it'll work in real life. That's what it felt like. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's what I gotta say about it. That is my opinion. I want to give a shout out to the Eagles fans who see this garbage for what it is. Also want to give a special shout out to Power Rangers who called Chip Kelly on this about, 2 years ago? He has never been sold on Chip Kelly. He called that one, okay? There's a number of us that should be upset. But for people to enable this, after seeing the stats, after seeing the quality, after seeing the potential of players or what they've already proven to get their money, and then to say that you can just believe in the system, Sixer style, no way. No way. That is absolutely ridiculous. I understand that there's a lot that still needs to be done. Things won't be finalized till tomorrow. We will see what happens with other players, who they get. But you're killing me here to sit here and say that that's okay. I understand that people are on watch right now and saying that, seeing all these trades and all this stuff that's going to be moved, these moves are going to be made, it's exciting to watch. I get that, all right? But some of these moves did not need to be made. I want to move on. And I want to talk about the Griffin Force flop of the week, which goes, once again, to college basketball. You players just don't care anymore, do you? You just want to destroy the sport altogether. Watch this flop as this guy tries to draw a foul, taking a jump shot.
7 second.
How do you even call that? Clearly, you see it up close. He's like, he's not even touched. Like, come on, man. Come on. You killing me here. Seriously, is there any integrity in this anymore? Because if not, if this is just about selling things, you might as well just stop playing sports and become an actor. Seriously, this is what the coaches, this is what you're teaching your kids. This is ridiculous. And for some reason, and there's always going to be somebody that says, well, you really do like the flops, so you wouldn't be talking about it. No! It's so bad that it needs to be addressed. And it seems like companies, we talked about this before, organizations, franchises, they could easily stop this. They could easily, but they choose not to. This could have been done a long time ago. They choose not to because they know it brings drama and it brings reaction out of the fan base. That's why. It's not a good thing. But they see other sports get away with it and say, hey, well, it's established there. We can do the same thing. That's what they're doing. You really need to start holding these organizations, the presidents of these organizations, accountable. The teams, the franchises, the coaches, the GMs, the owners, hold them accountable. It's not just the players, especially in college. It's not like they're kids. You can't even get on but so much, all right? But you can see a ridiculous one. They know better. They're old enough to know better. However, their coaches are not saying anything on this. And that's a shame. I want to move on to boxing, Premier Boxing. Gotta talk about this due to the fact that for those who did not see on Sunday, Adrian Broner versus Molina and also Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero, these matches were absolutely crazy. I don't know if y'all hear that. Sirens here for me again. I don't know. I should just wait for it to go by. I don't even know if they're coming this way. You know what? I don't care. I will put it like this. I'll speak a little bit louder because until the siren goes by, you know what I mean? So I'll put it like this. Adrian Broner versus Molina. Yeah, it's coming this way. Y'all can come on, man. Y'all messing me up, man. Anyways, look, I'll put it like this. Adrian Broner versus Molina. For those who saw this, now look, I want to talk about this for a minute, all right? the way that the presentation was done for NBC. Now, for those that didn't know, all right, because there was more than 2 fights, NBC only put 2 fights on, and then NBC Sports had another 2 fights on their channel, so they split it up. Yeah, for some reason, they didn't let that be known until pretty much the end of, NBC, the 2 fights for some reason. I didn't even know this, all right, and I've been, anticipating this for a week. I've been watching the, like the 24/7 type stuff and trainings. Never talked about it, not once, all right, even on Spike Day and stuff, not once, okay? Now, I will put it like this. They came out more of a Pride type style, all right? The boxer came out by themselves. I really thought there was going to be like some fireworks or something, some pyro, but they didn't. Didn't come out, which is kind of interesting. But I will put it like this. It was kind of a boring entrance for them to come out the way they did. I did like the presentation when it came to stage setup. I like the way they did before the fights, where they actually showed them, their profiles. They had them in tuxedos and all. It made it look very classy. I really appreciate that, NBC, because it's not just, what we see with boxing these days, where boxers come out with their cornermen and have rappers coming out and all this kind of, you didn't see all that. No, it was very classy the way they came out. A little boring. You need a little bit more, pizzazz with it. But they came out, walked down the aisle, they did the introductions, which, if you ask me, the introductions could have been better. They could have had a better introduction guy. Also, before I go any further in these fights, I want to say to the commentary team that they've been plugging the entire time, Al Michaels, Sugar Ray Leonard, Layla Ali, and Marv Albert, were absolutely horrendous. They didn't know how to play off each other. They didn't have much commentary. Like many of you have said, Marv Albert sounded like he was drunk. He got lost in the middle of the fight. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And y'all said, he hasn't called a fight in like 25, 30 years. So, you know what I mean? He doesn't know what he's doing. It's really this simple. If you'd have went and got either the HBO team or the Showtime team or the ESPN team, I'll put it like this: Teddy Atlas and Tessitore, they could have ripped that to shreds. They could have brought the house down when it came to their commentary if you'd have gave him a chance. But Sugar Ray Leonard, even though he's a legend, you have to understand, Sugar Ray Leonard stayed on an even level. He didn't want to disrespect boxers. There's times where he didn't want to go against them. There's times he didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. He was like, like when Robert Guerrero got hit, he was like, "Ooh, he's hurt. And it was like, nah, he's not hurt. He just shook it off. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, maybe he's not hurt. Okay, maybe he is hurt. Like, it made no sense. There was a lot of times in the commentary, there was dead air. They went to Layla Ali in the corner, and as you guys have said, and I've seen a number of reports on this, that she just seemed very uninterested in reporting what was going on in the corners. Al Michaels is just, I don't even know what he's there for. I'll put it like this. For people to say that this is the new generation of boxing, okay, and you're bringing out all these new stars, and this is the new order, the new guard, well, guess what? You should bring in fresh blood for your commentary as well. That's what you should have did. But instead, you went with Al Michaels, who was in his 70s. You went with Marv Albert, who's in his 70s. You went with Sugar Ray Leonard, who's, 56 or something like that? If you look at the commentary, the age of the commentary, no. You could have, like I said, you could have easily went with other quality guys who were of age, or you could have went younger. So as far as I'm concerned, the commentary fell very flat in these fights. So if you didn't understand what was going on in these fights, you were pretty much screwed, all right? Adrian Broner versus Molina. Adrian Broner made Molina look so bad, and Molina was very salty on this. And I say this due to the fact that if you notice Adrian Broner, the way he was fighting, okay? He has his, his traditional stance, how he likes to fight. However, Adrian Broner has power, but he's built off of speed. His skill set is speed and counter. So when Molina is coming out there and he's trying to fight, because let's be honest here, Molina is a very flat-footed fighter, and what do we see? He tried to come in with the overhand right every time. And his corner, if you're listening to his corner, they're telling him to do so many different things, and what is Molina doing? He's ignoring them. Round by round by round. It makes no sense. Maidana already gave you the blueprint on how to beat Adrian Broner. And what do, Molina? You don't follow that. You should know by now. Get up on him. Get close and pound on him. Try to slug with him because that's the way you're going to win, okay? Now, Molina, as we saw, he would stand there. For those who don't know, Adrian Broner beat him at least 11 out of 12 rounds, okay? At least 11 out of 12 rounds. I'd say round 3, Molina had some showing. You give him that round. That's it. But after the fight, Molina's like, he didn't stand in one spot and throw at me. And I'm thinking to myself, first off, he's not supposed to stand in one spot. It's boxing. You stick and move, all right? And for you to get mad that he didn't stay in one spot, if anyone watched that fight, there's a number of times, all right, Adrian Broner stood right in front of him and would tee off on him. For what? Every 10 to 12 punches Adrian Broner threw, Molina would throw one. So I'm not trying to hear that, Adrian Broner stood in one spot. No. Now, a lot of people are getting on Adrian Broner because he didn't finish the fight. He didn't finish off Molina. He doesn't need to. He's cruising through rounds, and I understand that people are saying, you know, for this to be a big event, to put your name on a big stage like this, you should try and finish this guy off. I get that. But at the end of the day, you have to box with brains. That's what you have to do. And Adrian Broner said himself, the last time he tried to give fans what they wanted, he got knocked out by, you know, he got beat up by, by Maidana. We saw that, okay? So, of course, he's going to stick to what he knows. Why? Because it works. That's what you're supposed to do. If an opponent cannot stop what you're doing from round 1 to round 11, what the hell makes you think he's going to stop in round 12? That makes no sense. He's just going to change his game plan. No, that makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolutely ridiculous what I've seen with the media when it comes to bagging on Adrian Broner and his fight style. That is boxing. Molina could not catch up. However, I will say, the best part of this fight, all right, not the Molina Broner fight, because Molina should never get a payday like that again, all right, after you've seen Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero. Because let's be honest here, this fight was one-sided. But because Guerrero's heart, and because he was taking a mass amount of punches, he wasn't quitting, and he was throwing, unlike Molina, because let's be honest here, he is down so much on points, and he's still out there trying to prove what he can do. And because he did that, it made the fight interesting. You couldn't count him out, even though he was down, on points. You're saying there's still a chance he could do something here. There's still a chance he could knock him out here. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand that Robert Guerrero, what he did was more of a moral victory as opposed to, a boxing victory. They will bring him back simply off the fact that he showed so much heart. He had the crowd behind him, and understand that crowd, they were pro Molina and Guerrero that night. However, if you notice, during that Keith Thurman Guerrero fight, at the end of the fight, everyone stood up and applauded. Everyone. Because it was the way the fight went down. You were cheering for the underdog, but you knew that Thurman was too good for this. And it just seemed like it was, that someone had to be knocked out. The punches that Thurman is throwing, that overhand right, let me tell you something, okay? When you were fighting a southpaw like that, and you were seeing that overhand right every time, if you notice, when Keith Thurman was setting up, and he throws the overhand right, what did he do afterwards? Anyone watch the fight, what would he do? He would spin out. He would spin out to the left, which means that Robert Guerrero throwing that left, he can't throw it. Because if you're spinning out this way and he's trying to throw, he can't go all the way around. What, are you going to spin all the way around through this? No, that's not going to work. So he kept him at bay. That's what it comes down to, and I say this because you have to understand, that's what it means to throw a fighter off their rhythm, okay? Because you're sneaking in this punch, you're spinning out, and before that person can retaliate on a counter punch, guess what? That's it. That's his biggest weapon. His left hand, that's his biggest weapon. He can't use it. You've taken it away from him. And that's what you saw all night when it came to Thurman versus Guerrero. Now, granted, Guerrero could have thrown a right hook. He could have easily, clipped him, but that wouldn't have been enough. We're talking about two guys who are throwing with power from round 1 to round 12. They are. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Guerrero took so many big shots. Like I said, my hat's off to him, man. That is crazy, okay? Thurman also took a lot of big shots. And that headbutt that the hematoma set in on the side of his head, and they're like, oh, they're going to have to check him. I'm thinking to myself, you don't have to check him. You know what I mean? Like, look, it's not near his eye, so it won't close up. It's on the side of his, it's kind of like on the top side of his head, like on an angle, so he's fine. It doesn't matter what the hell you do. You know what I mean? You can keep hitting it all day. It's not going to matter. It's not going to swell to the point where it's going to cover his eye and he can't see out of one eye, and then you have to stop the fight because it's an unfair, fight at that point. But both of these fights going in were mismatches. They were. If you know the technical prowess of both of these guys, Keith Thurman put on a clinic. Robert Guerrero showed so much heart. That is a fight that will bring people back and say, I want to see that again. I want to see Guerrero again fight, or I want to see Thurman fight, because they both did their job. That's what it came down to. They both deserved that payday and to come back, unlike Molina, who sat there and was pretty much a punching bag. That is a joke. Speaking of punching bags, I want to talk about something that I saw over the weekend, which is MMA. It's like MMA team fighting. And I don't understand this, all right? Because apparently this is, for what you fans were telling me when I showed you a little bit on on Twitter, you said that this started in Russia. And it's odd because you're so used to one-on-one fights when it comes to MMA, and trying to catch what they're doing because of speed. But 5-on-5, it almost turns into a damn street fight.
I mean, just on initial observation, it looks like big brothers beating up their little brothers here. Team Mafia coming out on top in some of these exchanges. noticing bigger. This is
we actually, right off the start, Jackson, we had 2-on-1 in 2 different locations. So there was actually a split right from the top.
Wow, flash 18 there. Lafia's got the scales tipped in their favor, and UK's got a lot to overcome now if they want to come out on top.
Yeah, there's a distinct disadvantage right there. Justice is trying to gauge the quarter there, but the numbers game is just not in favor of UK right now.
This is the beginning of the end for Team UK. Both remaining fighters on the ground just taking beatings. It's going to be up to the ref to stop this one when it's time, but
and before anyone says, whoa, Event, did that guy just help the other guy? He's just kicking him while he's down? Yes, he did, because apparently when you submit another team, another member of an opposing team, you can shift over to other teammates and help them fight other guys. That's right, so you can have ring out, or you can submit them or knock them out. However, when it comes to this, all right, you just saw a little snippet of that, just 2 guys, beating up on one guy. No, that's nothing. Check out how these guys jump on this guy 5-1.
We got Curtis Doner right here. Then we got 2. We got Sean Burnett and Curtis Doner and Rhino. Oh, yeah. He kicked him right out of the ring. Wow. That should have finished it pretty fast now. It's 5-on-1. Wow, those knees are devastating.
Seriously, all you need is some trash cans, some bricks. Seriously, someone can pick up a stick. You bring in some weapons. Like I said, that is a street fight. I put it like this, even though I don't see this thriving over here in America, I will say that I'm eerily fascinated with this. Because, like I said, it's one of those things where you're watching all these things, it's so much chaos going on, and these fights, you have to understand, they only last about maybe 2 minutes. So you have all these teams from different countries competing, and then they keep going, round by round. And then that's how you do it. Like, once you lose, you're eliminated, but you go to another bracket. This is a championship. So you go all these different championship brackets. So you can fight fight just then, and then say, okay, you got to turn around and go fight again with your team right now. So it's just really weird to see these rules. And for what the commentators are saying, as I was watching throughout the entire, presentation during the entire program, there's really no rules. All right? You just, they have some rules, but you see, there's like 5 refs in the ring. Like, it's just crazy when you watch, like, Bellator or Pride back in the day, or, was it K1, or, or UFC, or whatever. WEC, Strike Force, whatever you want to watch, alright? You always see one-on-one, and then, sometimes when things are so fast, they gotta slow things down so you can see, the technique that, fighters use. But 5-on-5, it's a street fight. Like I say, it's absolutely crazy. Speaking of absolutely crazy, I want to move on to overseas football. That's right. For those who don't know, Premier League. I want to talk about this because for those who don't know, as far as I am concerned, this is a 2-dog race. All right? And what I mean about that is Chelsea versus Man City. I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to their schedule. This is pretty much a neck and neck. This is going to be a photo finish as far as I'm concerned. I think there's going to be some spoilers in there as far as I'm concerned. I think some people could really do some damage. I will put it like this, all right? I understand Liverpool looks good, the way they moved up. Manchester United looks good because the way they're playing. There's a number of teams that are still in that top 5 that are dangerous, okay? But you also have to understand, when you see, Southampton, Liverpool go up, and then you see all these other teams, you have to understand, you still got the Spurs out there, like I said, or Arsenal, that are still dangerous, when it comes to a lot of teams and still trying to get points. However, I still think that this is Chelsea or Man City's game, or I should say, season to lose. As far as I'm concerned, I think that Chelsea can keep up this pressure as long as they play aggressive. And it seems like we're going to see that. I hope, okay? I say this out of sheer hope. I hope that they can keep this type of aggression up because that's what you want to see. Show them your dominance, Chelsea, because Man City still has to keep up when it comes to getting points. And you know what? Eventually, they can falter. They can. Like I said, if you look at these schedules, it's like, hey, anyone can be a spoiler at this point. But it comes down to consistency and the player personnel that you have. I understand that people are still going to say that Man City, they paid so much money for their players. But you know what? Chelsea has too. I'm not going to sit here in front and say that they didn't, okay? However, I do need to talk about Chelsea a bit more, okay? Because I want to talk about this. Sexist abuse of Chelsea doctor prompts call to report offenders. There's a recording of fans, apparently, that were harassing the doctor of the Chelsea club, Dr. Eva Canero. Now, I'll put it like this. I tried to look for the video. I found it on YouTube, and then as soon as the video was up, the video was pulled. That's right. Apparently, it implicates Manchester United fans calling her sexist names, Manchester City. Also, it implicates Arsenal as well, just to let you know. Now, a lot of people are upset about this, saying that this is just a smokescreen because of, what we've seen not too long ago with the racism with Chelsea. Now, they're going to say sexism and try to divert it, divert all that talk from before to this. And that, this is going to try and make them look like the good guy. Because a lot of people are very upset with Chelsea, all right? And I'm saying this outside of the fan base's football club, okay? So you have to understand, other fan bases are still very upset with them. Now, so they're saying, hey, you're just trying to jump on this to divert attention. You know what? Yes and no. I'll say that. Yes and no. Because you have to understand, not one issue isn't more important than the other when you have a doctor out there doing their job and then they're just getting heckled. And especially when it comes to sexism, because you got to think, when it comes to pro soccer, especially overseas, there's not that many females, that are doctors over there. You don't see much, So, or physicians, or, so it really is going to strike a chord with them. I understand that Chelsea wants to do the right thing and say, hey, look, we're going to have this even thing, equality and things of that nature. I get that, all right? But after what has happened, you have to, as far as I'm concerned, you have to sit and let it marinate. And I'm not saying you can't call this on them. You can call this on them. But to say, we're going to have a call to arms for all offenders and everyone should be reported and things of that nature, like, come on. While we feel that's the right move, I don't think it's the right move for you to call. I don't think it is. If another ball club had came out and said that, you say, okay, everyone get on board. But for the recent events that have happened, you really need to slow your roll. You really do. However, that woman did not deserve that as far as I'm concerned. That is the news for the day. Like I said, I just have so much to do, man. Didn't even expect to go on this long. But y'all know how these videos go. Anyways, I will talk to y'all next week. I may just take off next week, actually, depending on the news that comes out. Seriously. I didn't even get a chance to really talk about basketball. I really didn't see much basketball. You know what I mean? The big things were football, boxing, MMA, soccer, football for wherever overseas. That were the big things this week. All right, I really didn't get a chance to see much. Anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe. Notice you didn't get to blame that ref this week either, right? All right, anyways, I'm out.